Hi guys and welcome to Ryzoft. Today I'm here with Ryan, your lovely co-host as always. And today we have something a bit different. We're interviewing a lead game designer from Space Engineers. I mean, can you believe that? And here's the proof. Say hi, Thomas.
Hello.
And today we're gonna interview him about stuff he does, give you guys more insight into Keen Software House and Space Engineers to see what exactly happens behind the scenes. Now, me and Ryan are gonna ask him questions. For example, I'm gonna go first, and then Ryan, and then everybody will live happily ever after. Right, Ryan?
Yeah.
Yep. So let's start. I'll go first. So, Mr. Thomas, is Thomas how you pronounce your name?
Yeah, well, it's actually Tomas, but
Tomas. Okay.
like whatever you want to say, it's fine. I'm used to many different names and nicknames, so yeah.
So, Mr. Tomas, if I'm saying it correctly now.
Yeah, it is correct. Nice.
So, how did you end up at Keen Software House?
Well, actually, I got to the company when I was still at school. I applied. I applied for level designer on like the first project of Keen, which was Minor Wars, and I got accepted. So I got a chance to actually work on the missions for Minor Wars. And when the Minor Wars were done, we basically started working on Space Engineers, and I kind of like switched from level designer to artist. So yeah, that's how I got into the company.
So, when you basically got into the company during its infancy.
Yeah, well, it depends, because as far as I remember, Minor Wars took like 5 years to be done, and
Yeah.
I came to the company in the last year, so it's up to the point of view actually.
Uh-huh. And during the development of Minor Wars, so I've seen the game on Steam. I've seen when it got released. I mean, I quite liked it, but for some reason it wasn't really getting good reviews. Not as good as Space Engineers. Did you plan on adding building and everything you currently have in Space Engineers in Minor Wars, or?
Well, I don't have that much information about it, because as I said, I joined the team at the end phase, so I didn't really know what was planned. All I knew is what is planned to be done. So that's my answer to that. But I believe that when we finished Minor Wars, Marek actually came up with this idea that he would like to build ships in space, and that he sort of wanted to have this thing in Minor Wars already, but it didn't get in. So he gave it a second try, and we started to work on Space Engineers, and that's kind of how it all started.
And the second try really paid off, I may add.
Yeah,
So
it did.
let's start with this basic thing. What exactly do you do as a lead design
Well,
director?
basically, currently I am, well, how to put it? Well, we are analyzing the game and like how players play it and what they do and so on, and we are trying to find solutions that will increase the game. And currently I'm working on medieval engineers as well. So for myself, it's more like that. Sometimes I work on space, sometimes I work on medieval. Last time I was really focused on space was when the planets were supposed to release.
Yeah,
And,
planets.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was the best update I've ever seen.
Nice. I'm really happy about it.
So did you draw or design the planets? I don't know how to express it.
Well, my role was kind of like multiple, because, well, what I did was actually that I was thinking with programmers how to actually form the planet, and here it kind of works in a way that programmers and game designers work together very closely, and let's say that the game designer has an idea, then he will ask a programmer if it's like doable or like how much work it would take, and the programmer gives the designer some clues and like a way to go, and the game designer then like let's say edits the idea that he had before, or he kind of like reshapes it, and that's basically how the planets were done. So what I did was that I was actually thinking like all the stuff that, or what things would be on the planet, which means like the biomes, how the things would be actually placed
Did you
on
think
the
of those
surface
little
itself.
aliens?
Well, spiders, it was actually idea of Tomas Rampas. He's our project manager, but from my point it was more like the mountains and the ridges and lakes and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. So, your since the release of Planets, Space Engineers has been done with beta development, and basically, I mean, when the game started, it had a lot of promise, and it still has. And the amount of content that's been put in the game is just unbelievable. Some games today don't have that are actually completed, quote unquote, don't have nearly as much content as Space Engineers. So when exactly do you guys plan to officially release the game?
Well,
If you know that.
well, to be honest, even if I knew, I wouldn't be able to tell you because it's like it's a big
It's a
deal.
surprise.
Yes, and only thing I can say that we are doing now is basically trying to stabilize the game and
Hey,
make sure
wake
the
up!
planets run well. And for instance, that some things were kind of rushed on the planets, so we are trying to like polish them.
Huh?
Like for example, those trees that if you take them down, build a station and reload the game, the station will just explode. So
That
yeah.
happened to me once.
Yes. Yeah,
I was like, damn.
well, it kind of sounds obvious, right? But the thing is that you would have to save somewhere the tree that you took out,
Yeah.
and it's very difficult to do for the whole planet. So yeah, it's I think it's one of the one of the big priorities right now to make sure that this is not happening anymore. So yeah, fixing the game and polishing and stabilizing.
Basically optimizing it.
Yes, yes.
Now, I do believe Ryan has some questions too.
Yeah, how did the idea of planets and Space Engineers come about? Or was it always like an idea that you guys had?
Well, on the beginning, I think the main idea was that Marek wanted to make building ships in space, and we also had this idea of planets, but back then it sounded like impossible. We were like, we are never gonna have planets. There's like no way. So we focused on building the ships themselves, and basically we didn't know that the game is gonna be as successful as it is. So our main focus was building the ships, and that's it. You know, like build ship, build station, have some asteroid that you can like occupy, and that was about it. And as people started to like Space Engineers, we would get into these weekly updates that would actually bring more and more content. And since the community grew bigger and people started to create amazing stuff, they would start using the workshop. We sort of started to realize that we can like put the level to the next level, or the game to the next level. And I guess that's where the planets came into the play, that it would be
Yeah, that's where it really showed its potential.
yeah. So yeah, that's the basically whole story of the game, I would say.
With planets, did the development of medieval engineers help, or was it just kind of like, was it its own kind of development, or did medieval engineers kind of like, did you take like, yeah?
Well, to be honest, the first castle was built on an asteroid, and
Really?
yeah, because for the testing purposes, it was the fastest way to do it, or like does the cubes and the size of them and so on. But definitely a lot of stuff, especially from the character and from, let's say, the trees and like the voxel materials and all that, was taken from medieval to space. And a lot of like little details and like insights were taken from the medieval to space. But also reverse, some things from space helped in medieval. So definitely both projects are reusing stuff that is being developed for one or another. Ideally, we design a feature that can be used in both, because the code is very similar. So if we feel like that the feature would have potential in space and it is in medieval, we will add it to space. So yeah, it's very closely developed.
However, I noticed that medieval engineers has much more problems than space engineers. I do admit the game is much more younger than space engineers. However, there's a lot of people complaining they can't really run it, even on quite strong systems, especially on NVIDIA graphics cards, and some of them even refunded the game.
Yeah, we are definitely aware of this problem, and well, as we talked about it, since the games are quite close to each other, sometimes things done in one game can affect the other, and if there's like, let's say, no time to adjust the things, the other game can kind of get way worse. So
Yeah.
that could be one of the reasons why the performance is not doing very well, because, you know, things in the engine and so on were redone, and there was, for example, not that much space to actually edit it for medieval engineers, since space had a closer deadline to release the planets. So that could be the cause. But to be honest, right now we are actually trying to focus on this and to stabilize the game, to like fix these issues so that people don't have them anymore. So I hope that within like few months it's gonna be much better.
Yeah. So to all you fans listening out there, stop screaming at your mics. They're working on it. Now we are, since the release of Planets in Space Engineers, the game has become quite more intensive, and systems that can run it before can barely run it now. Now I also know that that's a bit of an optimization problem, and it does actually improve the game a lot, but in my point of view, I don't think there's much you can do to improve its performance if the game has added something much bigger that just can't be optimized. But that's what, at least what I think. It's not a question, don't worry. Now, do you, as a game designer, do you build ships in the game? Did you build the red one? You know, the starting ships, the red one, the yellow one, the blue ones. Did you build them?
Yes, I actually did.
Really?
Yeah, because at the beginning I was like the only art guy in the team, so all the props, the green station, blue ship, red ship, all the small ships, that's basically, it was like my work, so yeah. It's really interesting to see how the red ship actually got from a 3D Max model to what it is right now. It's like amazing, like the evolution of the of the model.
Yeah, literally, I've noticed that too, the evolution of it, because every new update, the new content you add, you show it on the red ship. So it came from just blocks to a ship with oxygen inside, airlock doors, hologram projectors, everything. You must be really proud.
Actually, just today when I was going to lunch, we have like these 3D models on a shelf, and I was like watching the red ship, and I was amazed how different it got over the years.
Then how it stayed the same.
Yeah.
Ryan, here, he's not really a good builder, so he always uses your ship.
Yeah.
I must admit, I spend hours and hours building on the game. I just get carried away, and I have this quite weird building style in which I build ships that are not usually when people build ships they base it off something. For example, Enterprise from Star Trek, or Voyager from Star Trek, or some ship from Star Wars like the Star Destroyer. Even Death Stars were built on such a massive scale. Now, I, on the other hand, built ships that have never existed before, and for that, in my total 364 hours on the game, around 100 of that was just building, and that's insane. That's how much your game actually has to offer. Not just survival, mining, but so much building has to be put into, and not just the look of the ship, but the systems, the conveyor belts, the oxygen supply, everything has to be accounted for. And that's something I have not seen any other game achieve. What do you guys plan for the future? Beyond Space Engineers and Medieval Engineers?
Well, let me think. Well, that's one of the questions that I'm definitely gonna answer, because I might not know, because right now I'm so focused on space and medieval that there's
You get carried away.
Yes. So I really don't know. I'm sure that Marek has an idea, and Tomasz as well, but well, we will have to wait for some official blog post or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your opinion, do you think you should perfect Minor Wars, or should you just keep focusing on Space Engineers and Medieval Engineers?
Well, Space Engineers and Medieval Engineers is something that I saw from the start, and I obviously would choose Space and Medieval.
Yeah, that's understandable. I would do that too, actually. Now, Ryan, do you have any questions?
We get a challenge setting up the gravity of the planets, like seeing how the space station would actually stay in the orbit around the planet. Was that a challenge, making that?
Well, it is possible actually right now, but it's quite difficult to do. And you
Yes,
can
I noticed. Quite lost a few space stations on that project.
Yeah. Well, there's one way that by using gyroscopes, but it's quite difficult, and you would have to do a lot of loops to make sure that the setting you did is correct. And or you could actually use autopilot and set waypoints around. And as far as I know, the autopilot is done in a way that it won't enter the planet. So it is automatically making sure it has its correct height, so it should not fall down if you are.
Well, thank you for the tip. I actually never knew that.
Yeah, you're
So
welcome.
you can just set the autopilot destination at the middle of the planet and it's just gonna keep circling around.
Well, maybe. I actually haven't tried it, but
We're gonna have to try that once.
you could also make let's say circle from waypoints around the planet, and it's gonna go from one to another.
Yeah. And there's also a suggestion from me. Make it possible for something to orbit around the planet.
Yeah, I would love to see that too, but yeah, it is right now. It should be possible with the autopilot, but maybe some improvement of the autopilot could use or serve this purpose as well.
Yeah. And one last thing. In your spare time, do you play Space Engineers? Do you have a clan, a faction on multiple servers? Do you rather play survival or creative? Or do you just always just develop the game or build stuff?
Well, if I'm gonna talk about my personal point of view, I always saw Space Engineers as some sort of, let's say, an engine that will allow you to build anything you want. Let's say you want to remake a scene from Star Wars. So you can build the ships, you can prepare all the assets, and then make it work by timer blocks and whatever. And also the modding potential of the game is so huge that that I personally spent more time with the modding rather than using the official or original blocks in the game. So yeah, I don't play space like survival and creative that much. I mainly mod stuff. And you can also see it on my workshop that I have a lot of example mods and so on.
We'll definitely check it out. So if you mod, you have some programming expertise.
Well, that's also one thing that is kind of unique about like the team we have here, because like if you hear game designer, you would think that it is a guy that is just like writing stuff. But over the last like let's say months, we kind of learned how to at least read the script. It's not like that we would be able to program something, but the programmers can tell us like which value to change to achieve something or like how to copy stuff. And then we are basically able to do some simple scripting without their help, and then they can focus on the very like the difficult stuff. So the modding is basically the same thing. I'm not making anything new. I'm just like changing values here and there, and like adding some objects, and basically the whole planet
Yeah, I
surface.
understand. You're basically using pre-made scripts, but just changing the values and strings.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the ways that the whole planets were made. If you look up if you look up the workshop guide for planets, it's basically again just copying scripts here and there, and basically programmers made this like scripting manuals for us, and then we as game designers could actually form the moons and Mars and everything, and they didn't have to do it. And we had the free will to actually decide where the snow is gonna be and where not, so it's really good.
It must be such a great job. I'm getting jealous. I'm joking. No, but is it actually difficult to program? Do programmers, do they sweat till they do something, or is it quite casual for them?
It is difficult because, especially with the game like Space Engineers and Medieval Engineers, you don't really have anything to like compare it with. Like let's say
there's a difference between coding for, I don't know, Call of Duty game and coding in a game that basically is trying to imitate real life. With physics, everything.
Yeah, so it is really difficult, and they have to spend like a lot of time. They also have to be really smart, because I remember that when one guy or one of the programmers was actually making the atmosphere effects, like when the sun goes down and it changes the color of the planet and everything, he actually looked up like the equations and the math that is done in the real world, and he like placed it into the code. So it's like a lot of math going on.
And that is exactly why you actually have to have a pretty advanced, everybody can learn it. It's just that you need to have interest in it. You have to know advanced math and physics to transport it into the game and emulate it.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
So, as I think I should wrap it up now. Do you have any last questions, Ryan?
How long did it take to develop the planets in total?
Well, overall it took about 8 months, I think. But the thing is that the first prototype was done in about 2 months or 2.5. And the first prototype, I mean sphere that has 50 kilometers in diameter, and there's like almost nothing. And then the next month, guys started to add trees. It was also quite a small team. It was just like 1 or 2 people. And then after the 3rd and 4th month, more people were actually assigned to do stuff. And what you actually see, like all the colors and like the shapes and mountains and all that, that was actually, and forests, it was added like in those 4 last months. So overall would be like 8 months.
That's quite long.
Yep, good.
We really appreciate you guys bringing us all the fun in the game. It's just great. Overall, I love it. What else could I have been saying? Thanks guys for watching. There's been an interview with Tomas
Yes.
Rampas. And next time, stay tuned because we might even interview Donald Trump. Who knows? Probably not.
Nice.
So see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and tell us if you want to see more of this. And stay tuned for more. Goodbye!
Right.
Bye.